Hi Pisces, welcome to your August 2017 love reading. It's Rena here. So let's see what the cards say for the month of August. And whenever I get the Five of Swords, I do a clarifying card because I always think that's kind of leaving people hanging a bit. So the first card in the center is what I call the focus card, or kind of the heart of the matter. And for you guys, this is the Page of Swords, and this is a card that connects with air energy. So it could literally be somebody who is a Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius, or has that kind of signature in their chart, their personality of being an intellectual, detached, thinking kind of person, versus you as a feeling, emotionally based individual. So if you're involved with somebody like that, that could be featured here. But this can be a personality trait of somebody who is paranoid, who's always suspicious of other people's motives. In certain, because this is a general reading, I could even say that some of you may be concerned about somebody that you're seeing, or if you're married or committed to a partner, you could be suspecting them, for instance, of cheating or something like that. If you're just starting to date somebody, you may wonder if they're really being straight with you about their background. And that could be problematic for you, because if this is true for you, and this person sets off alarm bells that make you want to see if they're telling the truth, that alone should tell you something. It's not, I guess it's smart to always know who you're dealing with, but on the other hand, some people make us feel more uneasy than others, right? So if you feel like this person is untrustworthy, maybe there's a good chance that they are. Now, for some of you, you have been in a position where you've been taking a break. This card represents somebody who is taking a breather and kind of gathering their thoughts and rejuvenating. Maybe you're on vacation even. But the point of this card is to show that you may have had a lack of activity. Maybe you met somebody on a vacation or something, and that's why you don't know them very well. One thing I want to say, though, about that card as well is that you may be dealing with somebody who is, this is their personality, and they're immature, and they are very, how would I put it? Well, I guess I would say like paranoid about that, like they're the ones accusing you of doing things that you may not be doing. And with the Four of Swords, it's possible that you have been on and off again with this person. And so that's another sign that it may not be a good relationship, because you can't get along with them on a consistent amount of time. What is coming up right now is represented by the Hierophant card. Now, this could be another player here, and this could be a Taurus, because this is connected to Taurus. But in general, there may be, maybe you thought you were going to get married to this person. This is a card in love readings that could signal marriage. But perhaps you're having your doubts. Maybe you are that Page of Swords and you don't know if you can trust this person. I will say this. If the person is an air sign, and I'm thinking of Gemini, because that seems to be the sign that Pisces gravitate towards. You're both mutable signs. The Gemini personality specifically, being another mutable sign and being an air sign, they may morph into another character for somebody else. And you may see one side of them and they are being what you want them to be. You have the same ability to be what other people want you to be. But remember that they're an air sign. So when they morph, they're doing so like somebody who knows they're playing this character. You're totally immersed in your emotions. So when you become someone else so that you can try to fit into their life, you really go whole hog, and you're much more convincing in the long run. But both of you may, I'm speaking specifically if you are hung up on a Gemini individual, both of you may get lost in your many disguises, and this may be what trips you up, because you can't pin this person down, and if the tables were turned, they wouldn't be able to do so with you as well. That's the irony of it. But you may have finally met someone, you may have finally met your match on that level, and that's what drives you crazy, because you may have thought that you were the only one who was capable of that. But it's interesting. The higher message is represented by the King of Pentacles, which is a very solid card. So we have all this shape-shifting. We have this solid card. Now, is this person the Taurus? This could be a father figure being a king. Could be a boss. Now, hopefully you're not having an affair with your boss, but it could be that you have somebody in your life that steps in as a father, or maybe your father is either someone who you look up to and they can give you comfort and advice, or you have issues surrounding your father that are leading you to be either attracting untrustworthy partners, or you never find anyone who lives up to that. And so you're always kind of like gravitating towards people who can't even hold a candle to your father. It could be those two wild extremes. Now, the other thing that the King of Pentacles, this is a spiritual message. So one thing I would say too, what the King of Pentacles represents is the ultimate intangibility and practicality. And when I think of practicality, or actually tangibility, I think of things that are totally provable. And in love is an emotion, so it's very abstract. But there are provable things that people do when they love another person that we can look to know that that person really is committed to us, that into us, whatever. And one of them is how much time they spend with us. If you are suspicious of someone because they always seem to be gone and you never can, you try to call them on the phone and they're never there, you always get a message, or you try to text them, and there's always some kind of communication breakdown, that can give you a hint that that person is being evasive, they're avoiding you. And the King of Pentacles is solid as a rock. Okay, so if you really are looking for love, you want to find somebody who is more like this, and they will show those qualities. They will be consistent. They will be visible. you will be able to see them because they will be a part of your life. They're not going to be this phantom that comes and goes like some kind of a character in a ghost story. They really will be a part of your life, and they will show up for you. And so that's what I can see as a symbol and a spiritual lesson on what to look for. What's crossing you is the Eight of Cups. So this is the challenge, and this is about letting go. Emotionally, you may have a hard time letting go of a relationship that is even one that is unsatisfactory, because it may not even be love. It may be something other than love. When I see that Page of Swords, I think of intrigue. I think of somebody who's hooked into drama. And water sign people, when they're not, I think especially when they're not in love, it can veer into drama very easily. So if you're in an unsatisfactory situation and you know it, and you're being honest with yourself, you're having a moment of clarity, Pisces, one thing you have to do is you have to just admit it to yourself and say, you know what, this is not a relationship that is worth keeping. And just by saying that, it will set off a chain of events, I believe, energetically, that will lead you to be able to break free from this relationship, even if in that moment you cannot do so. But you first have to admit it to yourself. And then everything will take its course. Maybe you will drag it on for several months until you finally let it go. But once you do, when I see the Hierophant, I think of you wanting the kind of solid relationship represented by the King of Pentacles, and that Hierophant, the connection of Taurus, which is a fixed earth sign. So not only is it a grounded earth sign, but it's also fixed, which means that it's very, very, it's like clockwork, you know. And a Taurus person can be counted on. They're like rocks. And that's what a Pisces person kind of needs, because you're like a sheet of paper that's floating in the wind. And you need somebody who can, like, you need a paperweight, a human paperweight, who can bring you down to earth. And that's what a Taurus person can do. Now, I'm not going to push a Taurus person on you, but somebody who is more like, who's your complement, you know, who is a complement to you, who completes you. To quote a corny line from Jerry Maguire. Okay, so the advice, or what may be coming in, is represented by the Seven of Wands. This is about standing your ground. And you're fighting for your dignity, really. The fight may be entirely within you. You may not even let the other person know that you are taking a stand, okay? But in your mind, everything, you know, every fiber of your being can be about dignity, desire for desire to attract a partner worthy of you, and other related ideas that are very elevated, you know, where you're realizing your self-worth, and you're defending your right to have that type of relationship. I'd also say to you, Pisces, look out for relationships where somebody puts you on that defensive, because that could also be coming up with that card. And that is a sign to get rid of that relationship. I'm not talking about somebody who challenges you in a good way, because sometimes if some people can bring out our best by not kissing our butts all the time. You know, that's not necessarily a good thing. Sometimes people who are sociopaths, they act like perfectly when they are in the courting phase, and then they turn into complete monsters. So I'm not saying that you should just be with somebody who never tries to challenge you to do better. I'm talking about when they attack your very being, when they try to act like you're no good. Those kinds of people will act like, they don't understand you, that you are unacceptable the way you are, in a very general sense. Not talking about specific instances where maybe you need to be called out on something, but in a general sense. And you always feel like you have to explain yourself or defend yourself. And this goes for any type of relationship, because it can be a platonic relationship. It can be in your family. It's a very toxic thing to constantly having to prove that you're okay. And people like this, their whole premise is that you're not okay, and that you have to act a certain way to be acceptable. That's a lot different than somebody who's totally being phony and trying to ingratiate themselves into your life so that they can then take total control. So you have to figure out the motives of somebody else, and that takes time. That's one of the reasons why it is so important not to jump into relationships and to do things very slowly. So in the future, you may want to think about just dating. If you do decide to leave a partner, just dating, going out, maybe not even at night, maybe just going in the daytime, so there's absolutely no chance of any kind of hanky-panky, because you want to really get to know this person and see where they're at, see what makes them tick. And then, because the physical relationship can obscure things, sometimes people, they go too fast in terms of like hanging out together all the time and all that stuff, and that can easily get into a situation where you end up moving in together and everything goes like a lightning speed, and then you find out that this person is totally messed up. And so in a way, I would say too that this is a self-protective kind of a thing, that you're not just, it's not an open season on you in terms of what other people can say to you or do to you. And the outcome, I think for some of you, you're going to find out about this. If you are looking into things, you're going to find out that somebody has been deceptive and that they have possibly been lying to you even. I remember reading other people talking about, or maybe even seeing on somebody else's video, those people in the background. And what do they represent? Well, they represent that there may be other parties involved in whatever is going on. And so it's so important to understand that sometimes you think you're dealing with one person, and this person could have a totally like a double life or something. And very interestingly, I picked a card to accompany this because I felt like that isn't the kind of card to wrap up a reading. I think it's more of like a cautionary tale. And I got the Four of Wands, and this is very heartwarming in the sense that I think that if you, Pisces, begin to really honor yourself, that you will have this goal. This is a card of a happy home life, marriage, and family card. Okay, the 4 is a stable number, a number of stability. The Wands are about joy. They're about passion. Okay, it's possible that there is going to be a fire sign person. So we're talking about Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. And maybe that is the possible outcome of a situation, that you'll end up meeting somebody like that. But I think I'd like to look at that, what that card represents in general. This is exactly what some of you may be looking for, and what has eluded you thus far is that kind of environment. And it's easy to get caught up in the victim mentality of thinking, oh, you know, because maybe you have had relationships that have been abusive in some way. But it's always much better to look at how you contribute to the relationship. I know, you know, people always say blaming the victim, but I really like to get past victim, that idea of the victim, because a lot of times there are patterns, and these patterns go back long ago. And I know some of you know this, but it's so true. And even before this lifetime, for gosh sakes. So let's not get hung up on that, because it really doesn't do any good. You know, we can, you know, people have war stories with their relationships about like how terrible they are. And I always say to myself, well, why did you tolerate that? After the first time that they cheated, why did you stay? Well, I loved him, blah, blah, blah. And the thing is, you can usually tell if somebody is not respectful of you early on. And it's like I say, it's a lot of those things of like the basic premise of who you are. If somebody doesn't get you, and you may not get you, so you may think, well, why should they get me? That's low self-esteem, of course. So it's very important to honor yourself. And the Seven of Wands can be, you know, the number 7 can be about being alone also. So you may want to do that. If you have been embroiled in relationships, maybe you jumped from one relationship to the other. But in any case, Pisces, I think that the end, all's well that ends well, right? So I want that Four of Wands for you, and I know that that's possible if you really work towards it. So I hope you enjoyed this, and if you'd like a private reading, please click on the link below. It'll take you to rainandmoonastrology.com. Have a wonderful August. Bye.